Dear Lewis Hamilton, welcome to Ferrari.
Welcome to the blatantly biased racing podcast. Now here's a bald guy and some Indian.
Oh God, we're in for at least another 12 months of this. Hello everybody, welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast.
And we'll enjoy every minute of it. Oh God. Should we first talk about the breaking news that has happened, or should we go in more chronological
What's the breaking
order?
news? What have I missed? What's going on?
You missed the big thing, apparently, in that case.
Is this
So
today?
John Elkann has come out and he gave an interview, and he said that drivers need to talk less and drive more and focus on driving, basically. So let's jump into that first, because I think a lot of people are going to be interested in that one. Yeah. So that's where we are when it comes to Ferrari.
If anyone needs to fucking talk less, I mean, look, where do you even begin? Is that all he said, or was he specific about it? Because I believe there was a quote from Fred Vasseur as well, which was a bit interesting. That I just,
Yep.
Was this a real quote where he said, "I can't complain about the pace this weekend, at least regarding Charles"? That's wow. Yeah. I mean, look, if we're looking at this, okay, so I went on a bit of a rant because I got asked a question about it yesterday on the thing I do, which is like the biggest F1 questions. And someone was like, is it time for Lewis to leave? And also on Twitter as well, someone got annoyed at me because I was like, Lewis, just retire. You know, enough is enough. I don't want to give Lewis too much shit because like 3/10 off Charles Leclerc generally in most seasons wouldn't be that bad, but like he's not doing a good enough job to make up for the amount of pay and the driver that he's supposed to be. Like, you hired a 7-time world champion and you're getting less results than Carlos Sainz. Like, it's not good enough,
Cool.
right?
Let's break it down then. I mean, you're jumping straight into that. Let's break
Sorry,
it down let's break it down into, first of all, why Elkann is saying that now. Mm-hmm. Secondly,
I was going to say Elkann. My point was more like, even with that all said, Elkann should shut the fuck up. But, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Second thing is, does he have a point to a certain extent? And third is way forward. Let's go into that pattern so that we cover everything. First of all, what Elkann is saying right now and why he's blabbering. So I think a lot of people missed it. During the weekend, Ferrari sealed another WEC championship. So I think this is the second or third consecutive one, and that's basically at a shoestring budget compared to what they do in Formula 1, and they've won Le Mans I think twice or thrice now. So in terms of prestige and achievements and everything, the endurance racing team is doing a spectacular job. When it comes to Formula 1, where first of all, in terms of prestige motorsports, Formula 1 is at the top, and Ferrari has been at the bottom, and it's been a laughing stock for a while. Just to cure that, or whatever it was, John Elkann brought in, and I might be wrong about this, but I think John Elkann played a massive role in bringing Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari, and I don't think Fred Vasseur had that big a role. I mean, he was fine with it, he was on board. Lewis is coming fine, that's okay, but it wasn't really something that he was enthused by or he wanted to happen. But once Lewis is in, it's entirely Elkann's call. He's paying him, I don't know if the exact figure is $100 million or whatever, but he's paying him a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And there's buyer's remorse. I think what he expected and what he wanted, he's not getting in any which way. And it's just frustration that's coming out. That's just the first thing that comes to mind.
I think he just completely fucking, and I think this is like the Ferrari board in general, the Ferrari owners in general, they just completely misunderstand how Formula 1 works. You know, like it's WEC is a very, very different sport, and like Formula 1, I'm sorry, but like the competition is between these manufacturers is harder. Like, you know, Ferrari is a big name, and in WEC, like, it obviously depends on the season. I'm not a huge WEC guy, but like, you know, it depends on what manufacturers are pushing where and so on. And Ferrari has the resources and team and so on to really, if they want to strangle WEC. Like, they've done it in the past, and then you get like someone like Ford comes along, for example, historically, and it's like, no, we can take you on now, and they'll dump mountains of resources into it. Formula 1 is all of the teams, especially now under cost cap and with the valuations, all of the teams are pushing 100%. There is
All the
nobody
time.
going all the time. So you need to be pushing 100% all the time. And at the end of the day, like, I feel like he felt like, oh, we'll get this big line driver like when we got like Vettel, for example, or Alonso, and that'll fix everything. It's like, no, like that's just not how Formula One works. He just completely misunderstands it and then constantly is saying like, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. No, the problem is, John, you need to shut the fuck up and give Fred Vasseur the time and like just freedom to put the team together. If you don't think Fred can do it, fine. Get someone else, but get someone else and lock them in for like 5 years and say, right, here, you're in charge, I'm leaving you alone. At least 5 seasons of just leave them to themselves, right? Because Formula One, there's so many tiny pieces that a Formula One, like, I don't know, it's like Mekis at the minute. It's like the whole thing of, oh, look, he's turned the team around. It's like, he hasn't done shit yet. It's too soon, you know? And then what? When things go wrong, what's the problem then? Are you also blaming, you know, this...
Well,
Formula One doesn't work like
that
this.
happened, right? That happened on Saturday. So Mekis was shat on from quite a few different corners, which is, again, completely unfair. It
Yeah,
shouldn't be
it's
happening.
unfair to Mekis. It, like, the thing is, I go both ways on this. It's unfair to go like, oh, look, Mekis has turned the team around, because he hasn't. The team that was working there is still the same team. But you also, by the same logic, you can't turn around and shit on them for the same thing. It's like, it's too soon, you know? Like, these are
Exactly.
some issues that needed to be fixed. But anyway, when it comes to Ferrari, they're constantly doing this of like trying to just move one thing and hoping that changes everything. And the Hamilton move was clearly that idea, was like, oh, we'll just get this big name in, it'll rejuvenate the team and everything will be great again.
Not only that,
And
I
the
think
drivers
the on-track
weren't the
thing
problem.
is hurting as well.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
The
I
what,
think
sorry?
in terms of the on-track performance, they thought there would be more that Lewis would
Yeah,
offer.
yeah. Oh,
And they're
I'm
not-
sure they assumed
they
there would
feel
be
they're
more.
feeling, yeah.
Which to me tells me that they weren't actually watching F1.
To be fair, when they signed him early 2024. And in 2023, Lewis finished third in the championship. So he was good. I mean, it wasn't like he was... His 2024 was the one where he fell off. In 2023, he was still there. I mean, he showed
Yeah.
signs of life and he had some brilliant performances as well.
It's fair.
So,
yeah. That was the one season he kind of technically beat George, right? But even, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's where the problem comes in for them, because the expectations that they had, I think they can be fine. They can be fine with the step that Ferrari has taken, the step back that Ferrari has taken, because that's not on Lewis. And at some point, you can reason yourself into believing that, okay, fine, this is not Lewis's fault. But then there are some basic things that come into the picture, and which is, for Lewis, he's had a lot of complaints. Rightly so. He knows when things are wrong in a team that's not working well. At that point, you want to listen to the driver, but then he puts together a race weekend like he did in Brazil, and it was poor. And I think a lot of people don't... There's been a lot of concession that we've given Lewis this season in terms of it's a new team, it's this, it's that, and fine,
Yeah,
he
this
deserves
was-
it. He's been there for 20 plus years, but not 20, 18 or 19 years. But what he... Let's just break it down.
It's not even the 3/10, by the way. It's not even that. It's the performance in the actual race, which makes me very concerned. Like,
Yeah.
rookie errors from a 7-time world champion.
Exactly. And even the sprint, right? He lost out to Fernando Alonso in an Aston Martin that had no role of being anywhere, even trying to contend a position against a Ferrari. The Aston Martin has it doesn't deserve to be there, and Lewis lost to that. And then you come to the race on Sunday, the qualifying on Saturday, he's nowhere, and Leclerc is, I think he was second or third in qualifying. That's a big gap. And then you come to the race on Sunday, and first, again, he didn't really have any fault when the Sainz contact happened, but the one with Colapinto was shambolic.
The
entirely on
Colapinto,
him.
I'm sorry, but like the same group of fans shit on Lando. That was the exact same thing that Lando did in Canada.
I'd say this was worse.
Well, this was worse because it was
This was
with much more
misjudgment,
space.
not
and
even, yeah.
this was
He just ran into the back of him for
Yeah.
there's
But my point is, it's a similar incident, and you're like,
Yeah, of
this
course.
is the same fan base, for example, that gave a lot of shit to Lando for that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, well, there you are. I don't. It's like I said, the 3/10 on Saturday, fine. Like 3/10 any other time when Leclerc is on, like starting on the second row, he would have been 5th or 6th. You know,
Yeah.
3/10 this year, you're out in Q2. It's a huge margin this year, which is why also I think like Tsunoda, I think gets too much shit. You know that way, and we even see like I know I'm a Colapinto fan, but there has been a few times as well where Colapinto has been 3 or 4 tenths off of Gasly, and it's been like the difference between Q3 and Q1. You know, like that. So I don't want to give Lewis too much shit for that, especially when the qualifier he's up against is Leclerc.
The best in Formula One.
And
right?
yeah, and also Hamilton, I'm sorry guys, has never been the best qualifier. Like, I mean, Bottas was able to easily challenge him throughout their time together, for
But
example.
Bottas was Bottas, right? So
Bottas was a very good qualifier, yes. But like, the point is that is not where I think the problems are. The problems are in the race, because Lewis is traditionally quite good in races and doesn't make these mistakes, generally speaking. Like, what's going on? And then the
seems a
problem
bit
is
of a yeah.
it's the same excuses again, though, as Mercedes as well, all the time. So, I there's a lot riding on him just clicking with the regs next year, right?
I think the problem, the biggest problem Lewis faces right now is it's not that he's washed. I think a lot of people have a wrong perception of
That he's not
Lewis
washed
being
completely,
washed or anything.
Yeah.
It's just that he's teamed up with maybe the best driver in Formula One right now. Let's say Max is the one, but Leclerc is very close to him. And if you have that kind of a level that you're competing with again and again, and if you're not able to perform at your best, you try different things, you experiment, you gamble. Once you do that, the mistakes creep in, and that seems to be happening with Lewis. And there's a level of desperation involved as well. And it might be a bold opinion, but I think if Alonso was in the same position as Lewis is, he might end up suffering from the same things. Right now, where Alonso is, he has Lance as a teammate and he has the measure of him. So what Alonso can do is he can perform at his best level, and since the entire team is working for him, he can level up. The errors and mistakes, they kind of go out of the picture. Lewis has to continuously, his barometer is the best, probably the best in Formula One, and that brings more and more mistakes. I think the Colapinto incident is a perfect example of a driver being restless. Right?
Yeah.
Just running into the back because he knew he fucked up. He knew Leclerc was P3 and he cannot finish another race where he's nowhere while his teammate is right at the front of the grid. And that's the problem for him.
Was at the front of the grid.
Yeah.
The problem I see though is just like with Alonso, for example, like he's changed teams repeatedly throughout his career. And he has been willing to adapt, and even with this regulation set, like it's not like at the start of the season he was a bit kind of underwhelmed with the car, had some issues with the car, struggled to adapt a little bit, but they were working on new upgrades and stuff, and they then brought the car the way he wanted it. And I think that's like kind of okay when it's 5 or 6 races and you know there's upgrades coming, you don't change your entire style for 5 or 6 races. You're like no, I'll just wait for the parts to come in, right?
Yeah.
The problem for me is like Alonso and every other driver has just adapted to like, okay, this is the way I need to drive these cars now. This is the way I need to do this. And Lewis is literally like, we're 4 seasons in and he's like, oh, I can't get the car to like drive the way I want. And constantly the reporting is, I don't know how to, like he's not comfortable with these cars. So my point earlier was there's a lot riding on just like, does the 2026 car suit him more? And like this is what I hear from all his fans all the time. It's like, yeah, but these cars don't suit him, and next year will be fine. It's like there's a lot fucking riding on that then, because if they don't, what he's shown is he's not willing or he's not able to adapt. So if next year he comes in and that car doesn't just magically suit his exact style, what happens then? Because Ferrari's going to look at that and go, well, he hasn't adapted for 4 seasons now, so 5 seasons now. Like, why do we keep him around? He's not going to for the 6th season. Whereas every other driver has adapted, but I also go back to the original point. I don't think the drivers are the real issue. I do think hiring Hamilton was a mistake, though, but not necessarily because it's Hamilton or even because of his performances this weekend. I think that fundamentally
it's because the expectations and the pay package that comes with it.
Well,
Ferrari put
it's because
the
fundamentally
entire-
what I was just going to say, fundamentally, it's because what Ferrari have done is they've tried to fix a completely different problem with a solution that has nothing to do with the problem.
Yeah.
So they've put time, and you've put time, money, and effort. Money is the least important because Ferrari has enough of it, but like they've put time and energy now into training Hamilton into the Ferrari, getting him on board with the car, changing maybe the direction of 2026 based on his feedback, doing all of this stuff instead of what they could have been doing, which was, if they had kept Sainz, they could have just focused all that time and attention on improving the car. So it's wasted energy.
Exactly. Let's go through some stats from this season. Lewis versus Charles. So first of all, pole positions, it's 0-1. Leclerc has one, Lewis has none of them.
Which is a good
Podiums.
Ferrari stop.
Yeah. Podiums, 0 for Lewis, 7 for Charles.
7 for Charles.
Yeah.
Damn.
And again, we are probably missing one in Hungary, which he could have gotten if it was not for the lift and coast thing. And probably another one yesterday. So it could have been 9 podiums for him. And there's none for him. Then you look at points, it's 148 for Lewis, 215 for Charles. I think that's almost 50% more than Charles has. And this includes Leclerc has been seriously unlucky this season. What happened yesterday was funny. There have been a couple more races where he possibly could have gotten big scores and it just went away from him.
Yeah.
This is not a good look in any which way. There's one stat I want you to dig up for me. Last 3 races, how many points has Lewis scored versus how many points Ollie Bearman has scored? No, seriously. Because I think there's something more that's going on behind the curtain. I might be wrong, but I think there might be something more that's going on.
Let's find out. I'll get.
I'm also looking at it. So after US, it was Ollie had 20, Lewis had 142. Lewis has scored 6 points since then, and Ollie has scored. Ollie has scored 20 more points.
20.
So in the last 3 races, Lewis has scored 6 points. Ollie Bearman has scored 20 points. And I think this is where the problem is for Ferrari, because they might be it's basically the Kimi Raikkonen phenomenon in 2018, right? Leclerc came in and he started smashing things up at Sauber, and you had Kimi, who was maybe not performing at the highest level, and they had a ready-made replacement available. And I think John Elkann is looking at it and he's thinking on those lines as well. Because look, that's 100 million that he's paying and he's not getting anything out of it other than a few merch or whatever.
The bigger concern is Lewis isn't like, if he only sticks around for this year and next year, he's not going to add anything to the brand either. Like, it's not going to help with marketing or anything. So like,
will he be there next year?
That's the question I was just about to say. Like, the bigger thing is they can just pay out that contract. You know, like they could pay it out and
get Ollie for free.
Yeah, essentially. Like, I don't know. I would assume they can just pay out the contract, generally speaking. I know.
Yeah, of course.
Like, Hamilton would technically, I know with Mercedes, Hamilton would have needed to accept to like buy out if he had an actual contract. But with Ferrari, I don't know if they'd word their contracts that way. I reckon they would have had like a full on.
Yeah, so the
clause.
standard, what happens is what happened with Kimi in 2010 and what happened with Daniel Ricciardo in 2023. So in both those cases, the entire year's whatever salary, whatever it was paid in advance and they were told to sit out. That's it.
Well, the thing is, with Daniel's one though, for example, the reason I bring this up, with Daniel's one, he had to actually accept that. McLaren couldn't just pay it out and kick him out. He had to actually accept to take. Yeah. So that was one of the things where even like Zach and Daniel talked about it, but it was reported as well. And I spoke to some people like around McLaren that it was like basically Daniel had learned from Horner saying it for so long that like if two people don't want to be together in Formula One, there's no point. It just won't work. And Daniel basically came to the conclusion of, this isn't working for me. McLaren don't want me here anymore. So it's not going to get better next season. And there's a shit ton of money, that I could take and leave and figure out what to do.
Basically.
So he kind of accepted it, and McLaren then didn't, because McLaren would have had to take it to court and everything, which would have been an awful look, because technically speaking, even if they paid him the full amount, he also, there was no clause in there. Essentially, it depends on the racer, because with Daniel Ricciardo, McLaren wanted him so badly, they basically signed that he was locked in. There was no way to remove him, even with poor performance clauses. So he was just locked in. Whereas I don't know if Ferrari, even with Lewis Hamilton, given Ferrari's history, would sign anything where they didn't have a specific, we can get out of this whenever we want type of thing. Who knows? But John Elkann made a mistake, Ferrari. I think. Yeah. So who knows? But my point is, even if they wanted to pay him out, there may be a thing where Hamilton's no. I'm getting paid, I'm being here. I don't care. And then they don't have an option. So the question will be, how badly do they want him gone? And if they really want him gone, then, there's the easy thing of turning around and they could just go, fine, you can stay, but next year we're not giving you the same car as Leclerc. And we're not,
Yeah, but you're contractually obliged for all these things. All those things are usually there in the contract.
Depends on how detailed the contract is, yeah. They're pretty detailed these days. But, Ferrari could easily say, we'll make sure you don't perform next year. They have ways of doing that, as they're doing to Oscar right now, according to the fan bases, right?
Or Vettel in 2020.
Vettel 2020 is the perfect.
I still remember that car, and there was something not right there.
Yeah.
But again, that's
because Leclerc is quite good, but Vettel dropped off to an extent where it was something strange here.
Something's weird. Something's weird, right? Yeah. So anyhow, finally, what do you think ultimately? How does this thing get resolved? Because I had expected Lewis to maybe come out with a statement or something today. In general, because once the race weekend is over, he takes a day and just comes out with something. Today, Lewis hasn't said anything. There's not a word.
I don't expect
something's going on. I'm not. I think the other maybe one thing we missed is Ferrari also went down from P2 to P4 in the championship, and I think in the ground defect era they've not finished below P3. They were second in 2022. They were third in 2023. They were second last year. And if they finish fourth this time, okay, things are not.
If they finish fourth this time, I think Fred will be gone, which I think is just a mistake.
But, I agree.
Unless they're replacing him with Horner on a 6-year deal where Horner gets complete control. But that's not going to happen. So
Ferrari doesn't do the right thing. So.
No, I genuinely, I think what'll happen is I think he'll stay for next year, because I think he's not going to accept bowing out like this, and I think it will come to the point where it's too much of a headache for Ferrari to remove him with all the publicity, everything that surrounds it. I think he'll stay for next year. I think he needs to be careful, because if he kicks up a fuss, there are ways that Ferrari can just go into next year and be like, oh look, Leclerc's on the podium and you're nowhere every single race, and no matter how much Lewis is it's the car, it's not me, everyone's going to be like, well, Lewis has lost it. So Ferrari can do that. So he needs to be careful about how he responds, because Ferrari are vindictive. But I could see a situation where after the third race next year, if the car hasn't completely clicked for Hamilton, Ferrari announced literally after 3 races. I think after
the first 3 races, Leclerc is gone anyways.
So depends on how they perform, right? Obviously.
We know how they'll perform, right? So.
Yeah. Well, they've got top secret suspension and air intakes that they're working on.
Of course, right.
Yeah.
Nothing we've not heard before, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, enough talk about the whole thing. I think I've predicted sorry, I think I predicted the thing far too many times in the past. Next year, by this point in time, Ferrari will not have Fred Vasseur, Lewis Hamilton, Leclerc.
Yeah, I think all three. They'll have them, but they'll be on the way out. Yeah,
precisely.
To be exact,
and I won't be surprised if that happens. Poor Ollie Bearman, I feel so bad for it. He would be ending out one of those seats. So anyways, let's talk about why we picked it up first, because that is just the news that's going on right now. Now let's talk about the Brazilian Grand Prix, because we have a new Lando Norris apparently. A Lando Norris that knows how to win and knows how to have proper starts. and knows how not to fuck up the final qualifying lap. So Jason, is he the championship favorite now?
Well, you'd have to say he is on this momentum. And just given things have got a fucking way tougher now for Max, basically. I don't want to call favourites until I said it in the video yesterday I did, that for me it very much comes down to Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is the last place where I think there could be a huge swing, like a big difference between the two. I think in Qatar and Abu Dhabi, like Abu Dhabi, I expect the McLaren to be better just based on the last few races. And Qatar, I think, is going to be neck and neck. So I think these are, like, in those places, Max will only be able to gain, like, a certain amount. And I think, like, even 12 points at each of those races. Yeah, but 49. My point is, like, if there's a point where McLaren have an absolute shit show in Las Vegas and, you know, Max wins the race and Lando is pointless, for example, then, you know, your 25-point swing going into a couple of races where there's still some... It would be difficult, but it wouldn't be, like, over. At the moment, it's essentially over unless that happens in Vegas. Yeah, because it's like 17 points a race weekend he'd need or something at the minute.
Which is impossible. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. So, especially with Qatar and Abu Dhabi. Like I said, Vegas is the one where I think if there's a big swing, it could pull it to where it's not... He's still not the favourite, but he could do it. You know, like it would bring it into that territory. But anyway,
I think, if for Max to even be in outside contention in Vegas, he needs to win, and he needs to hope that both McLaren's DNF for some reason. Something
or
happens,
like, you know, even if like Oscar's like PA and Max and Norris DNFs, then it's like, okay, right, now he's back into. It's still,
it will be 25 or 24 points in 2 races, which is still
still a big ask. It's a big ask, but you've got Qatar Sprint, you've got the Qatar race, you've got Abu Dhabi. It is technically possible. It's asking a lot, and it means you're still also very reliant on McLaren having a bad time in those races as well.
Exactly.
But
and Lando making mistakes as well, which is somehow he doesn't do that anymore.
Well, I guess we'll talk about that right now in a second. But yeah, I think the thing is, it's like that's what I want to see. That's why I want to wait until Vegas, because I think there is a good chance that could just happen, because Vegas could be a really bad track for McLaren. So I don't want to be like, oh, it's off, and then we come back in 2 weeks' time and we're like, oh, Max back on, you know, because it wouldn't be surprising. But
Exactly. And that's the whole thing, because for me, I think it's a bit surprising, because I think what has happened is, and I think he talked about it as well, Lando, where he was questioned, so what changed since you since the first part of the season where there were a lot of mistakes and stuff. So he said, I stopped, I didn't listen to the crap that people talked about me. And I think that's fair, because if you look at Lando Norris of 2024 is going to be proud of the Lando Norris version that we are seeing right now. He's consistent, he doesn't make mistakes. And when we are talking about not making mistakes, it's in crucial areas which cost him the championship last season and put him on the back foot this season.
Yeah.
The qualifying lap, he is going to nail it every time now. And you can be confident about it. And we were never confident about it this season, because every lap, I think Nico Rosberg almost made it a point to just mention that he's overdriving the car. Every time he's overdriving the car, when it comes to that final lap, now that's gone. Then you also have a situation where once he's nailed the start, there's no looking back. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. And also, to be fair as well to other drivers, that is generally the case with this season as well anyway. You know,
True.
Whoever comes out first at turn 1 tends to win the race.
Yeah.
Generally
but
speaking.
When it comes to Lando, he struggled with that, especially, right? Last season, I think it was the conversion ratio of 1 out of 8 pole positions or 2 out of 8 pole positions. He lost the lead on every first lap. It almost became a meme for him. And now you look at it and he's nailed it. And I think
even at the end of the race as well, like on the radio, one of the radios I heard, he was a bit disappointed that they weren't able to like pull away from the group. Like that was you're talking real, like that's championship level mentality though, of like, I've just won a race, led every lap, not led every lap because of pit stops, but essentially like led everything for the entire weekend, taken the maximum points, pole position, everything. and to still at the end go, yeah, I think we didn't pull away as much as possible. We should probably look at that. Is kind of that's the kind of shit you would expect from a Max, a Lewis, these guys that have won.
Yeah.
I think Norris deserves a good lot of credit for this. So
let's ask the most important question. This version of Lando Norris, is he championship material?
yes, if he continues this for the next 3 races, I'm sorry, Oscar has absolutely no chance. And there's a couple of things I want to say on this. First is I think that Zandvoort was actually a blessing in disguise in some ways for Norris, because I think that took complete pressure off to where it looked like this championship is done. Like it's going to take so much to come back against Oscar that I think he went and thought and talked to maybe his performance coaches and whoever, and they were like, right, look, the pressure's off now because it's going to be so hard to win. So why don't we just start eking back some of the shit and make it so you can have fun out there and drive like the way you used to before you had a fucking race-winning car. Take the delta off your dash, just try and do the best lap. Stop listening to this shit, stop doing this. Because, the Lando of... I know we're going to say, like, this is a new Lando. This, for me, is the Lando of old. Like, this is what I expected from Lando. And why, when everyone else was like, oh, Lando won't go anywhere, me and you were like, I don't think people know how good Lando is. This is not a new Lando. This is the Lando I expected that somehow got lost last year when he got a race-winning car. And I think Zandvoort was a blessing in disguise there for that. And yeah, I think if he can... if he can keep going like this, he's won it. There was a second thing I wanted to say on this, but I just can't remember what it was. Maybe it was just that this is the Lando of old, because this is just...
And I mean, and
this is how we expected.
And a lot of people might have forgotten this by now, because one of the key talking points, at least from us, was this is going to be the first race where Lando would be leading the championship. He's back with the spotlight all on him. And we've seen in the past that once the spotlight is on him, he tends to fumble quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's not doing that anymore.
No.
Like if you go through the first practice, there was one thing, and I think I even texted it, right? That Oscar is back. I tweeted it twice, because Oscar was nailing everything. It was only until the final lap where Lando just put things together and he finished on top. He was within a few hundredths of... He was a few hundreds faster than Oscar. From that point onwards, Lando never looked back, and Oscar couldn't keep up. Once Lando stepped up, Oscar was nowhere close to him. And I think that's the main... And I think this is something we've talked about it a lot of times, that when both these drivers are comfortable in the car, Lando is the faster one. I think now we are seeing that. And it's just proper... championship material talk that we tend to do. What do champions do? And I think early in the season we said this about Oscar during this entire battle, that this battle is going to go to the last race of the season, but what's going to stand out is who's going to win the mini battles. And almost every time we said one thing, that Oscar would have the edge on that front. Lando has completely flipped the script.
We discussed this at the start, that like after the first few races, especially for example after Jeddah and those races, it seemed to me like, fuck, if Max and Oscar end up the two in this title fight, like it's going to be interesting to see if Oscar can beat Max, because he seems like he's just cool, calm, everything's fine. And now it's like Lando's the one that's cool, calm, and Oscar is like literally on the radio being like, what the fuck are we going to do here? Like
exactly.
It's very bizarre, but you know what? This is almost a Lando that I expected at the start of the year that we didn't get. Like that was the point earlier, because like when you're talking qualifying gaps, it's not like there's a huge gap between Lando and Oscar, but where it is right now is exactly where I expected it to be last year, because Oscar had to fix his tyre wear. So to ask him to fix his tyre wear and to fix his qualifying pace and to try and catch up to someone as fast in pure pace as Lando was a big ask. And it was surprising that he did all of that over the off season, So it does make you wonder, is this less of, like, as people are saying, Oscar's not being favoured and he hasn't got the car, and more of Lando has finally gotten comfortable with the car again after Zandvoort and so on. And I think it is just that case. I think we were asking too much. And I think like Oscar is now having to push and overdrive the way Lando did before.
Yeah.
And I think Oscar is having the problems now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, right? Because let's jump to Oscar in that case, because in I think one thing that stands out in all of it is I think the problem that Oscar faces right now is he's just slower. I think that's the problem. It's nothing else. The racecraft and everything. We'll discuss the penalty as well, but racecraft and everything in general, it's all there. But he's just slower than Lando, and I think that's where he's just falling behind.
And
that's
it's the
why
expected gap, like what we expected. That's what's so bizarre.
It's took a it. I think that's the best thing about having a 24 race season as well, because everything evens out and at the end of the year. Because remember, by the mid-year, at the summer break time, there was a lot of chatter about Lando being lucky to even be within striking distance of Oscar. And I think Julian Palmer said that the gap should be longer. It should be 40 something points. And then you had the DNF in Zandvoort, and since then everything has just flipped.
Yeah.
So if I have to, break the whole thing down, I think where Oscar is suffering right now is in terms of fundamental pace, he's just behind. And that's something you can overcome in certain conditions, where you either start alongside Lando and just nail the start. You nail him at the start of the race and then just manage everything from there. Either you try that, or you start playing some mind games or something, because Lando is susceptible to that. And I'm not sure Oscar is the kind of driver who'll do that.
I also wonder if maybe obviously we saw the tire wear issues flare up in those two races, and I think we've seen after Brazil that there isn't a fundamental problem with Oscar's car or anything. It's just those kind of showed us he's still not 100% on top of the tire wear. I think he's very, very good at it. I just think compared to Norris, I think he still has a little bit to learn, which is normal. He's in his third season. Yeah. It's not like he's been driving for a long time. But I wonder as well, is he now pushing too much to the point where, he's got to play catch up. So it's now more difficult to get that last tenth when you're, getting the tires a bit out of that working window.
Yeah.
And also I would love to know, and I think we'll never know, but I would love to know how much of a difference the setup changes are making, because we know they went to kind of not completely separate paths, but it's subtle changes.
It's being overblown, honestly, because what happened was...
But because they're so close, I do think it could make a difference, because
of course,
you're talking a tenth, half a tenth, and it's just a case of Norris went with one where he gets more feedback from the front end, and Oscar went with the one that gets less feedback from the front end, but is on paper
he's more
the
comfortable
quicker car.
with that. Yeah.
And on paper it's the quicker car. But I wonder if that on paper quicker car, as we've seen so often in Formula One, is yes, it's quicker on paper, but because it doesn't give you the feedback on the tires, you then at those peaks can't manage the tires as well. We're talking such fine margins now. It's not like Lando's a second quicker per lap. You're talking a tenth and a half at
that's
most.
Yeah. And I think it's just. By the way, Oscar was a few tenths off even in the race pace as well on Sunday. I think it was 5 or 6 seconds behind he was from Lando by the time they pitted. And it's for him, I think it just comes down to one very simple thing, and I think he would be understanding it by now. I'm not sure what kind of things Mark can tell him in the current situation, because it seems that, again, the whole thing about him not being the favored son and everything, I don't ascribe to that notion, because it's nonsensical. I just think that, and I also, in my view, I just think that the whole upgrade or modification, whatever happened in Canada, it's being blown out of proportion. Because since Canada, we had a lot of races where the form remained the same.
Oh, I actually don't think it added, I don't think it's given Lando a miraculously faster car. I know some people will want to say that.
Plus, it's not even... Yeah, plus it's not really instantaneously made things better for Lando. Because Lando didn't win too many races after that. All of a sudden,
it was a comfort upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. But for Lando to unlock performance and just get to a point where he is right now, it's taken a long time. If you remember, even in Zandvoort, Oscar kind of crushed Lando as well. That was the last time when Oscar convincingly beat Lando. And it's just that since that point, something has, I don't know, the switch has been flipped on one side or the other.
I think it's mentality more than anything else.
Probably, yeah.
We saw how, I know that sounds simple, but we saw how big mentality can change things between 2015, 2016, Rosberg, Hamilton. Like just that mentality of going all in for Rosberg. The mentality of just going, fuck it. Like, you know, I'm not going to listen to any noise. I'm not going to worry about the championship. Like, maybe that's all Lando needed, because Lando is fundamentally a very fast driver. And whether people want to admit it or not, in terms of just raw talent and pace, he is up there with a Leclerc, Russell and Max in terms of just pace. I think like Max and Leclerc beat him in aggression and in other areas. But when it comes to just pure
way in which they approach the thing.
Yeah, but when it comes to just out and out pace, he's there with them. Like, and they have admitted that over the years, because he's been on podiums that the McLaren didn't deserve, and you know,
exactly,
like, all of those things.
I mean, people talk about Sochi, but what the fuck was he doing in a McLaren and leading?
He shouldn't have been there.
That's the question, right?
He shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just to sum it up for Oscar, how do you rate his championship chances? He's 24 points behind Lando. There are 3 races left. 3 races plus 1 sprint.
I think he's still in with it. The problem is, I think in some ways, like Max, Oscar's problem now is that it's not all on him, right? Because even if, for example, if he won every race for the next 3 races and Lando finished second, he doesn't win, right? So he needs Lando to fuck up now. And that's the problem that Oscar faces now, which is like the points are in a position where he needs Lando to fuck up. And I think that's a difficult position to be in, because I think he'll start to push harder than he needs to. And that's where mistakes will creep in. And instead of catching...
he can't have the freedom of, you know, trying different things, because McLaren has the whole papaya rules thing where you have to be very fair and you cannot really do things out of the box.
They can try different strategies and so on, but I think the problem is now, like, Pirelli have got us in a position where different strategies don't really work, so it's kind of pointless. The other thing he's facing now as well is, I reckon, like, Lando probably would have been more troubled by Max being in the championship, and I think the fact now that Lando knows I can DNF and still be ahead of Max is a nice place to
Lando
be in.
Can
where
basically
I think
have one bad race where he sits out, and he'd still be comfortable in the championship against Max at least.
And like, even if he has one, that's the thing. Like, if Lando has a DNF in Las Vegas, he still and Oscar wins the race, he goes into Qatar 1 point off Oscar. You know, like, so it's Oscar's still in this, obviously, and Max is technically still in this, but the problem now is they both need Lando to fuck up, essentially, which pre-Zandvoort you'd say was inevitable, but I'm not so sure now. I think a Lando fuck up now might be like a podium. He's on 3rd instead of winning.
Yeah.
And
plus,
if Lando's in that nice position now where, like, think about it, if he can just be like, I'll just get a podium, like, just finish P2 the next 3 races and I've won the championship. You know, like, that's a nice place to be in, where you're not worried whether you win or not.
By the way, just trick question, not a trick question, but in general, how many races has it been since Oscar finished ahead of Lando?
5? 4? 5?
6.
6 races
in a row.
When's the last time Oscar was on the podium?
Okay.
Because
he wasn't on the podium in Baku. He wasn't in Singapore. He wasn't in Austin. Jesus Christ. Zandvoort.
It's been 6 races as well, is it? Basically.
Yeah.
See, that's the other problem for Oscar, right? Like,
the momentum is not on his side. I think there's still more or less. I think, look, 3 races. If Oscar gets his head right and he just goes full attack, maybe he can, because Lando is still vulnerable to a certain extent. It's not a done deal in any which way.
No. Yeah.
Right. Secondly, let's talk about the other thing, the penalty and everything. What was your take on the penalty?
I fundamentally disagree with the penalty. Like, I don't think it should have been a penalty.
Yeah.
However, just to point out to anyone watching, like, I know you know where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
You can't blame the stewards for that. Yeah, you can't blame the stewards for that, because it was a slam dunk it was just done. Like, at the end of the day, the way this works is he was trying to overtake on the inside. His front wheel wasn't fully alongside the front mirror of the other car. He also locked up, which means he wasn't fully in control. And even if you say, oh, well, that's because Antonelli closed off, so he was forced to brake, that doesn't matter. He locked up. So according to the rules... Yeah, exactly. So under the regulations, he was not entitled to any racing room there. So Antonelli could literally like crash into him and it wouldn't be Antonelli's fault. And essentially that then means that he wasn't entitled to room, so he therefore caused the collision. And he got a 10-second penalty for it. I think it's a slam dunk penalty. This is why, though, I disagree with the rules, because in reality there, all Antonelli has to do is just not brake or like let off the brakes way more than Piastri can because of where he's coming in. And Piastri can't do anything and gets a penalty automatically.
Yep.
And this is why I've, and you, since last fucking season, we've said these rules are just open to just being gamed. But the teams and drivers want them. So what can you do?
That's the whole thing. And as soon as, I think anyone can go back and check, as soon as the incident happened, I was completely, at that very moment, 10 seconds penalty, Oscar. That was my tweet.
I put up, I was like,
I'm
pretty sure.
Yeah,
a lot of people lost it.
It's so simple. Right now, it's so simple. If you've read the rules and understood them, it is so easy to predict what's going to happen, because it was a very easy checkpoint. Apex, who's ahead, that's it.
Yeah.
Simple. And I personally am not a huge fan of the way they are adjudicating right now. It is entirely due to the whatever rules of engagement or whatever they've put together. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of it.
It's too easy to game if you're a good driver. Like if you play by the rules,
plus
if you know the rules.
Plus it ends the whole let them race philosophy they used to have. Mm-hmm. And I think the Scott Mitchell mom, he had an entire article on that this breaks the philosophy of racing and stuff like that. And I think my answer to that is quite simple. In 2021, when that was the first time that let them race philosophy kind of came into the picture, where they allowed driver to just go for it. Some touching, some contact is fine. It started with that, but then you had complaints. Mm-hmm. You had complaints from drivers. Lewis did a lot of them. Then you had Max doing a lot of them. Then you had others jumping into it. The reason is everyone tries to game the system. Mm-hmm. Once that happened, it moved into a certain scenario where you can do this, you cannot do that. Mm-hmm. You've continued regulating the whole thing to a point where last year, mid-season, till Austin, drivers started complaining that the whole thing is very counterintuitive. And then drivers gave their input. And this is a product of what the drivers gave. Mm-hmm. These regulations, they're entirely drivers' inputs. And if the drivers want to race with these kind of regulations, be my guest. At that point, I cannot sit and complain, because they know best. If they want to race with these kind of things, go ahead.
Well, I'm the first one to bash the FIA, and I saw there was comments on the video I did where I know I didn't reply to any of them. I'm not big in replying to comments unless I just want to wind people up. I just browsed through a few of them, and there was a few where it was like, the FIA shouldn't have given a penalty there. Like, what were the stewards thinking? And it's just like, this is the thing I just keep laughing at. I'm just like, the stewards weren't thinking. They don't have an option. Like, there's literally a menu of, they met this criteria or they didn't. 10-second penalty. Sorry, done. And we were shouting about it since last year. Yeah. And I just think any rule set where you can just purposely not brake and miss a corner and get the other driver a penalty is fundamentally broken to me. It's like, if you can just go, okay, well, he's trying to overtake me on the inside, so I'm just going to not brake and go slightly off the corner, and he's going to be done for forcing me off.
Yeah.
Like that's fundamentally just broken to me. That doesn't make any sense. You're basically stopping anyone from overtaking at any point.
And that's the whole thing, right? Because for me, the biggest problem is this. The entire ethos is the issue for me. And even, keep that aside, for me, something that grinds my gears these days is the fact that a lot of content creators or experts or whoever, they don't know what the apex is. They don't know what the regulations are. They have no clue. So I browsed through something that popped up on the timeline where we had people from a particular publication or broadcast team. They were talking about the regulations of how Oscar was alongside Kimi, and they
Yeah.
didn't use the apex. There's a specific thing that's written in the FIA document that your point of measurement or your point of reference is the apex. They didn't even
Yeah.
use the apex. They just used a particular random point and then just went through with the whole thing. And the problem that happens with this is when you are not clear about what the regulations are, what are you going to tell to your viewers? And everyone, and this is the biggest thing, no one reads the regulations, no one knows the regulations. Alex Brundle came out and he tweeted that Oscar was alongside Kimi, and I'm looking at, what the fuck are you talking about? He's not. It's clear as day he's not. So
You can
guys,
see right
read
at the apex
regulations.
that the front wheel is way behind the mirror. And they're going to be like, but they were alongside. It's like, yeah. Like in actual physics, they were alongside. But as per the actual regulations, they weren't.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I've had to like send someone a screenshot of the fucking regulate. Like technically they aren't rules, but they're guidelines. And the problem is if they don't follow them one weekend and they do another, then we get problems. So the stewards are essentially have their hands tied behind their backs of, we have to follow these guidelines, because if they didn't follow the guidelines there and they said, which they are technically entitled to do under the rules, if the steward said, we think that was a racing incident, what do you think is going to happen there? Obviously, Mercedes are going to be in the fucking room afterwards with the stewards going, this is how it's been adjudicated on in every single race because of these guidelines.
Yeah.
And Piastri's going to end up with a 5-place grid drop for the next run for causing a collision instead. And everyone's going to be even more annoyed. So the stewards are obviously going to go, look, the teams and drivers gave us these guidelines. They're pretty set.
We're going to
straight.
follow them,
We have
yeah.
to follow them. You
Yeah.
know, that's the. And they're going to be told to follow them by the FIA anyway. Because it's
Exactly.
like,
And that's why-
then we
yeah.
can stop being blamed. We can just go, not our fault. Talk to the teams
Precisely.
and drivers.
And McLaren had no issues, by the way, with the whole thing. They were like, yeah, it seems
These
that
are rules.
it could have gone either way. That if a team is coming out and saying that it could have gone either way, it's basically an admittance that yeah, we fucked up. As simple as that. And Leclerc had a different view. He thought that maybe Kimi could have given more room. But again, a lot of people are sticking onto this thing that Kimi could have given more room and it was a 50-50 fault. What he started his statement was, the way he started his statement was, we have these guidelines and they have to be followed, but... So that's the whole thing. He also knows it. He knows that these are the guidelines that we have to follow. So even though maybe Kimi could have given more room, understandable, but there's a reality to the whole
didn't
thing.
have
Why
to.
would Kimi give more room and seed position? He's fighting for the podium.
Well,
And-
the same people who will argue that, right? The same people who will argue that are the exact same people that we hear all the time with like Norris or Russell or anyone else who are like, you know, oh, they're not aggressive enough, they're not ruthless enough, they could have done this and that. And then the same people come in and say, well, why didn't he give more room? And it's like, look, the rules are the rules, and the drivers, the good drivers, are going to play. Like, this was a big criticism I had of Hamilton in Mexico, which was like, Hamilton doesn't understand the rules. Like, because if he had of, like that time where he went off and got the penalty at that corner,
Yeah.
as I said, Max actually didn't make the corner. Max went in deep, right? If Hamilton had have just gone, oh great, he's coming in hot here, I'll just let off the brakes, and even if I don't make the corner, he's going to force me off because I'll be ahead at the apex, so he'll get a penalty. If Hamilton understood the rules in the way Max clearly does,
In Austin
Max would have got a
last year,
Max would have got a
by the way.
penalty there. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Max would have got a penalty there. And I guarantee you, nobody would have been happy with that. Like, no Max fan would have been like, well, yeah, that's the rules. They would have been like, this is bullshit.
Exactly.
The rules are broken, so, in my
Precisely.
opinion.
Yeah. Moving on now. We've had a lot of chat about Oscar as well. Now we're almost an hour into the pod and we haven't talked about basically the driver that made the race. Let's talk about Max Verstappen. First of all, your
Newey
view on
rocket
his
ship,
race.
isn't it?
Sorry?
Newey rocket ship, isn't it? I don't think he deserves any
Vache
credit.
rocket ship.
Yeah. That's still Newey's car. Look, you know what's annoying about this in some ways? Not annoying, but is interesting about this? Max finishing on the podium after starting from the pit lane is totally expected. Like, it didn't surprise me at all. At no point did I think, like, oh, well, Max is going to end up outside the points here. I was like, this is going to be interesting.
No,
like,
I thought he'll After the way the car performed on Saturday in the sprint.
But they changed the car, and that was when I was like, oh, right, okay. They're going to just map it exactly for the race. Like, they're going to make sure it's a rocket ship for the race.
Yeah, but if you knew you can build a car that is a rocket ship for the race, why won't you do it anyway?
Well, they fucked up. They tried to do something.
That's the whole thing.
I think they learned from that, and obviously this is Mekies's new Red Bull, because Red Bull has never, ever in its history changed the car so dramatically.
That they ended up finishing on the podium after starting in pit lane.
Yeah.
2012, Abu Dhabi, Sebastian Vettel.
Repeatedly,
just a reminder.
They've done this. Also, can I just point out that, you know, Max came from like 17th last year to win the race under Horner. So this is not exactly a new Red Bull thing. You know.
But here's the thing.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. I think they fucked up this weekend.
Mm-hmm. They did.
I think Max would have
won
been
this weekend.
He would have easily walked the race. The kind of pace he had, Lando was nowhere close.
Yeah,
and he should have. In the same way, he should have won the sprint.
Well,
and if both those things happen,
you know, Mekies fucked that up.
Exactly.
Because I'll tell you, there's one thing Horner's Red Bull wouldn't have done that Mekies did.
What?
Listen to Tsunoda. Horner's team never listened to the second driver. And specifically, Mekies listened to the second driver and fucked up the car.
Yeah.
That would have never happened under Horner. He would have said, listen, you short little bastard. I don't care what you say. Look how slow you were out there. We're not taking any advice from you. Go sit in the corner, count out those Honda money, dollars, and give them to me. Right? That's what would have happened. But Mekies went, oh, we should listen to it. It's a democracy. No. It's not a democracy.
It's whatever it was. I mean, ultimately, look, it comes down to one very simple thing. If they nail the setup on Friday. I know. Yeah, you should clarify that when people are going to call you racist. Which you are.
Nothing I said there was racist. I called him short. That's
everything is racist. Yeah. Okay. So, ideally, if they nail everything on Friday, he wins the sprint on Saturday. He wins the race on Sunday. Mm-hmm. The gap, just guess what would be the gap in the championship right now between him and Lando if he does win, and Lando is second in both those races.
Is it down to like 20 points, something like that?
28.
28, yeah.
Yeah, and he's currently 49 points behind.
Yeah.
And again, they can look, the euphoria of making a comeback from the pit, everything is fine. Red Bull fucked up, and I think a lot of people are not really stressing on this thing, but Red Bull fucked this up. 3 races, 28 points, and the kind of pace that Max showed. Okay, I didn't talk about it earlier in the podcast. Max can win the next 3 races easily. Yeah. That pace that he showed, that was spectacular. And and usually, you know, the area where Red Bull tends to struggle compared to McLaren is in the long corners that are there in the second sector. And that's where Max was struggling earlier in the weekend. In the race, there was no struggle at all. He nailed it. And if the Red Bull is strong everywhere and he wins the next 3 races, which I think he might, that I won't be surprised if he wins the next 3 races. And if he does, they are going to come back to this particular race where they fucked up. He would have been the favorite in the championship. 3 races, 28 points, and he would have been the favorite. And I don't know. They should be pissed, and I didn't really see any of that because again they saved the weekend in some way, but they should be pissed right now. I mean, after the whole euphoria has died down of wow, we did a brilliant job,
an amazing race by Max, but like they should have. To your point, they should have never been in that position. Like even if they had kept the sprint setup, I think they probably start in the top 10 and Max wins the race.
No, the sprint setup was poor because even in the sprint race he was nowhere.
Oh,
that's
right.
why they had to make the change.
Yeah. Sorry, you're right. Yeah. But yeah, if they had just not fucked up, which is an easy thing to say, right?
Yeah,
just
but
don't fuck up.
You shouldn't. But fucked up this bad. This was
bad.
Poor.
That's the first time he's ever been taken out in Q1 without some sort of actual mechanical issue.
Yeah, and it was entirely down to the team. They have to do better, and I don't know what.
Well, think if they had changed all that setup and stayed with a car that wasn't much quicker, if Max had finished like 10th or outside the points, or
Yeah.
like even if he had finished off the podium, like say 6th, something
Yeah.
like that, you can guarantee today people are talking about that instead. They're saying,
Yeah.
what is Mekies' team doing here?
Yeah.
You know?
They should be talking about it right now as well, because they left a lot of points on the table, and I'm just surprised that no one has paid attention to that, and I think they should be paying attention. I think more than anything else, Max should be paying attention to that, and I think there seems to be a bit of a change in psyche or change in approach, because I think they don't. I think Max has gone into the last 4 races with the mindset that if I win the championship, it's a bonus, but I'm not going to win the championship. And because of that, anything that he's getting, he's treating it as a bonus. He's not really thinking of, oh fuck, I lost 10 points here. And he did lose 10 points, which are not going to... I don't know. I just think that if this season Red Bull was its efficient self, Max would be within 10 points of Lando right now.
Yeah.
And this is so many times.
This is the, you know, they're famously taking more risks now, and it's clearly paying off.
Yeah.
This whole, by the way, just off topic, did you see Jos Verstappen as well saying, like, if I was Oscar Piastri, I'd be demanding answers and stuff? And I'm just sitting there going, Jos, you're not Horner, you can't pull this off, just go sit down. You know, like, you're not going to, like, Zach is not going to listen to you. Just go sit down. You know, you're not Horner.
And his quote was, but I saw someone reacting to it as well. The quote was, I would be hitting a few tables by now.
Mm-hmm.
And the reaction was, yours hitting. That sounds about right.
Yeah. Although you will say, like, I would say, if Horner, this was the whole thing, if Horner was still there and they sniffed that title, which they would still be in this position if Horner was there. I don't care what anyone says. Like, this is
100%.
the way it is. Although, you know, Max might be signed for Mercedes because of whatever. Oh, well, I guess he couldn't because of the performance clause. But yeah, it would. You know for a fact Horner right now would be in every single press conference, be like, you know, there's easy ways that a team can make it sure their second driver underperforms. You know, he'd be saying stuff like that,
100%.
just trying to get in. He'd be like, I'd be surprised that Mark isn't checking for this. And, you know, he'd probably even, like, I would see him going to the levels of, you know, we did some things that we're not proud of in 2012. You know, like to wind up Mark Webber, to make Mark Webber go, what? Like, you know, he'd be doing all of that. And it's kind of disappointing that Red Bull is being like, well, we made some mistakes. The ruthlessness
is gone, right?
Yeah, it's not
gone completely. And
yeah, I think it's going to be fun to see next year when things go wrong, because it's not going to. You're not going to have the same fight and drive. You're going to have this like, well, shit happens. You know, like it's not.
At least we tried.
Yeah, I don't know if I wonder. Like, I've been a fan of Red Bull for a long time because of Vettel, and it just doesn't feel the same now. It's like it's not the same.
Too soft.
Yeah, like Max's drive was typical, like what I expect from a Red Bull driver, and from Max specifically. But like Red Bull drivers are like that. Like Vettel 2012, the comeback through the field in Brazil. Like, this is the kind of that Red Bull, like, even when they win, they have that underdog energy.
Yeah.
And that feels gone now. It's like, no, we are a big team and we need to play like adults now. And it's like, that's not Red Bull. That's not.
No, you're right.
It's gone.
You're right.
You know, being an adult isn't the Red Bull DNA. You know,
and you can see it, by the way. Jos tried to stir up the pot with the interview. You had Marco make a few comments, but they are not left, right, and center in the media. Right with Sky Sports and just making these comments again and again and again, because I think either Sky doesn't really approach them, or there's something that's why the accessibility is not there. But
Mekies also wasn't on the grid. I don't know if you noticed that for the grid walks either. Which was,
I didn't. Yeah.
He was obviously doing like engineering things, but it's you know, like it's strange because like even when they had a bad weekend, you'd have Horner at the front of the grid going, well, you know, it's good chance for Lando. Pressure's on. You know, like he'd be standing there as close to Lando as possible, being like, well, pressure's on now because, you know, Lando really needs to take advantage of this, or there's no champion. You know, he'd be there winding people. That's what I miss. It's kind of that, like, being an absolute prick energy is just not there anymore. And it's not the same. It's basically Mercedes now.
I mean, even Toto would have done a few things by now.
Yeah.
He's
I have it. I have it printed out.
apparently McLaren is. They have their own way of going about things. Red Bull, I think Lauren Oke, maybe he didn't really expect to be fighting for the title anyway, so he's still not there yet in terms of authority and calling the shots. Maybe in the future he makes changes. And
I think to your point earlier though, when the dust settles, I think he is going to feel a bit of pressure this week, because the dust settles. They're kind of like, oh, we got the podium. That's interesting. You know, like Jos and the engineers that are around Verstappen will be looking at it and going, well, how did we fuck that up so bad on Saturday? Like, we could have won that race. You know, like that. The champagne will calm down, and that question will start to be asked, and it's going to be interesting to see how Mekies kind of responds to that. Mosquito.
Okay, by the way, just to clarify to everyone, because I think this argument is going to come in the comments as well. Max having the new power unit, a power unit alone is not going to give you half a second or something. That's the kind of deficit he faced. So maybe a tenth, that's the best that you're getting out of a power unit in terms of performance, a new power unit compared to an old one. So that's not the reason why Max was just suddenly flying. That's not the case. It had to do more with the setup that they finally found out and implemented. But they should have done so already by Friday.
Especially with these, like the restriction on like party modes and stuff. It's not like it was in the past where you could take one engine for one race and really turn it up to 1,000. Like, it's not really the case
Brazil
anymore.
2021.
Like, you're still restricted very much now under. Although I think they were restricted back then, and that's why people were questioning it too. But anyway,
the engine ran for 2 races, and then they changed it, and then they brought another one. There was a five place penalty, which was a complete joke.
Yeah,
but that was a different time.
Amazing race by Max though. Incredible.
I mean, I tweeted about it. Just do yourself a favor. If you're free, go switch to F1 TV. Just switch on Max's onboard, because first 20-25 laps, the kind of things he's doing in the car, you're going to love it. Any pure racer is going to love it, and just brilliant. Brilliant.
The only thing that did disappoint me slightly, if I'm honest, was I know he had a faster car than like most people on the track, right? You know, like until he got to kind of the back of the Mercedes, basically he had the faster car.
Yeah.
Apart from George, no one actually defended against him on the straight, which kind of bugs me a little bit. Like, I know most of them are like, we're in a good position, Max isn't in our fight, and we don't want to get in the middle of a title fight. But I just feel like, I don't know, it's weird to me that like you're passing guys like Alonso and so on, and they're just like, no, pass by, you're okay.
Yeah.
Like, none of them tried to squeeze him. None of them even covered the inside to make him have to go the long way around.
Yeah.
They just kind of were like, we'll just stay on the outside, let him pass on the inside, we're fine. And like, George was the only one who actually defended at all.
By the way, George was poor in that one. He had
although I
brake
think he
issues
was
or
having
whatever.
brake issues and stuff.
Yeah, but even then, the lines that he took, he was defending clean air, right? It was just poor for him, and he'd be the first to tell you that he could have done better. But that's where the whole thing is. Now moving on from George, let's talk about Kimi Antonelli, because apparently he pissed off a lot of Leclerc fans for the collision with Oscar, because Leclerc was the third party. I'd say Kimi Antonelli arrived this weekend, and finally we can say that.
I thought he was spectacular. Yeah.
And that's where I think the whole conversation around rookies. I think this is probably the time when, you know, the whole talk about if there's the fastest car at Mercedes, Russell is going to just walk to the championship. I think now people are. I'd say people start putting a break on that, because if the kid is doing this already, there's still more steps to be made.
I don't agree with him walking. I don't think that's the case, because I think Antonelli will get better. I do think George still ekes it, because George is, I think, more consistent, and it will take, I think, some time for Antonelli to like get rid of all the bugs, you know, which is normal.
Of course the bugs will be there. There's
fucking
also
impressive.
Exactly. That's
you know what impressed me the most though? It wasn't even like the pace or anything. I think he's always been a fast driver. I think he's had to deal with getting on top of tires, all the rookie things in F1. What impressed me the most was the way he defended against Verstappen, or more importantly, the way he didn't defend against Verstappen. And what I mean by that is, like, so many rookies. You've got a guy like Verstappen coming up behind you. You know that Verstappen likes a late lunge. And it's so easy to go offline, defend fresh air, like you just said about George, and then you're offline. And Max tried to make him do that so many times. Like Max pulled out, hoping that Antonelli would go offline and let him kind of gain enough to kind of come around. Antonelli didn't budge. Like he just kept looking at it, just like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. You're going to have to work hard for this. You want to lunge, you lunge. Like it was kind of almost like you could imagine the mentality in his head was, that's a long place to lunge back from. You've a lot more to fucking lose than I do. Go for it.
Exactly.
And he kept under that mentality. It was fantastic. Incredible from a rookie, I thought.
Even the entire... And I think it's been coming for a while now, because I think we've talked about it a lot in this podcast, that beating George Russell on a race weekend,
easy.
over a race weekend as well, it's not easy. Mm-hmm. And he's probably... amongst all the rookies, he's the only one that has been a part of the team. Compare that to Ollie Behrman, who has Ocon, who's come to a new team and is still not comfortable. Hülkenberg, he's come to a new team. You have, who else is there? Lawson is in complete shambles. Then you have Hadjar, who's also not got the best barometer to be compared against. You have Kimi, who has probably the biggest barometer in the entire Formula 1 grid, I'd say. Yeah. Yeah. So once you have that, it becomes very hard to shine and to actually, show how good you are. In the last few races, I think since the whole upgrade, they actually got rid of it. The one that was brought in Canada and led to a complete drop in form for Kimi. Since that point, he's been within a tenth or so of George. And once he's done that, it's been slowly getting closer and closer to it. What stood out for him, at least in my view, was this time around he had the race pace to keep George behind. Yeah. Usually what we've seen we saw it in Miami. He was able to out-qualify George, but in the race, he didn't have the pace. This time around, he had the pace to just keep him there. Yeah, and I think that's the next step that you expect from drivers, and he's already there. And he's 19.
Yeah. I think he's going to be amazing. The question will be if... The only thing that's going to be troublesome for him is if let's say if the title-winning car maybe comes a little bit too early, because I still think there's a bit too much to fix for next season to beat George over the season. I think I do think though there's a good chance he'll make it fucking tricky for George if they happen to be the only team that has it, which I think is unlikely. But if they happen to be the actual dominant team and it's between the two, I think he'll make life tricky for George. But I don't think he'll beat him over a season. But after today, I think, or after this weekend, I think it's another kind of reinforcer that the potential is there, and it's only a matter of time before he's really pissing everyone off basically with how good he is.
He's proving Toto right, isn't it?
Yeah.
The kind of
makes you wonder,
which,
why does Toto need Max? Well, it's a different
makes you wonder why Toto needs George. That's the problem.
Yeah. Get Bottas back to be number 2 alongside Antonelli. Or Hamilton at this stage.
Too expensive.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Ferrari a bit before we, let's wrap the whole thing up. Ferrari's race weekend, by the way, they're done in the championship. They're on a P4 in the championship.
You didn't need in the championship there.
Yeah, they're done.
Yeah.
They're done. Exactly. Because there's nothing, and it was again. Fred Vasseur came out and said, honestly, I have no idea how Leclerc was P3 in qualifying. It was just out of his ass. He pulled out a lap that was good enough for that. Because at no point throughout Q1 or Q2, he looked anywhere close to that. He had no business being there. But even once you've done that, it's just the bad juju around this team, right? You cannot get anything right. And then you have Fred Vasseur coming out and saying that we had the pace. We might have even had the pace to win. At least with Charles. So
it just...
Oh, God.
Yeah. I'm just excited that the Ferrari hype for next year is already kicking off again. The annual cycle.
Yeah. I don't... What's the thought process, do you think, John Elkann has at this stage? I mean, after the entire... We've covered the most of his out... The way he's blasted the drivers and everything.
Probably selling the team to Volkswagen, maybe. Like it's...
FCA, Fiat Chrysler. It's part of FCA, right?
No, not anymore. They
What is Ferrari part of?
A few years. Ferrari's its own thing, as far as I'm aware now.
No. It's
Completely.
part of the. Oh,
It was
I'm
part of
forgetting the
FCA,
name.
but it's
I'm
not
forgetting
anymore.
No. It's the American enterprise. I'm forgetting the name.
Stellantis.
Yeah.
Is it part of Stellantis now?
No. Elkann is the head of something at Stellantis, and
Elkann's part of one thing at Stellantis.
Yeah. Who owns Ferrari?
I don't think it's owned by anyone though. Yes. I'm pretty sure it's not. Like, I think Stellantis is like a separate thing, like that has
Exor. 67 public.
Exor.
Eh,
But
Which
I
car
think
company
Exor
owns-
only owns a part of it, right? Exor owns 25% of it.
Yeah.
Piero Ferrari owns 10%, and then it's public. It's a public stock. 68% of it, 58% of it. So it is just its own company. But yeah, Exor is invested,
68% public stock. That's new.
or 58%. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
That's
listed
in-
today as race. It's its own entity. Yeah, so Exor has something to do with it, but I think that's why obviously John Elkann's chairman, right? Because Exor is part of the company or whatever.
I guess so. But John Elkann's belong to the whole. Which family does he belong to?
Agnelli.
Agnelli family, right?
Yeah.
That's why he's the legal heir of the whole thing.
Exor is a Dutch-based holding company controlled by Italy's powerful Agnelli family, the same family that
okay.
powered Fiat, or that started Fiat. Exor it's the largest single shareholder. It doesn't own it, but it has 36% of the voting rights of Ferrari. It also owns Stellantis, which was formed from the merger of Peugeot, Citroën, and Fiat. And then it has Juventus, Iveco, the commercial trucks, and so on.
Yeah.
So
that's why Elkann was
yeah,
parading all of them in front of Trump, right?
yeah. So
Juventus
basically,
team
John
was
Elkann is Exor's CEO and therefore was named Ferrari chairman. So Exor don't actually have controlling stake in the company, but given Exor is the is the CEO and the chairman with Elkann, it's essentially setting the direction.
Calls the big shots, right?
Yeah. So,
Benedetto Vigna he's just the Ferrari CEO, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I have no idea where Ferrari goes from. I mean, he's had his lashing out, but what's the next step ultimately? What he wants? What does he want the drivers to do? Wait for these 3 races. By the way, these 3 races are important for Lewis. If somehow they end up placing the entire blame of the team falling back on him, I'm not sure if the whole thing holds together.
Sounds insane, but it's also very Ferrari, isn't it? Like,
How far ahead is he from Kimi Antonelli in the championship? 20 points, right?
I'm just checking. First of all, Ferrari is 4 points off Red Bull, and Red Bull is 32 points off Mercedes now.
So the second is gone.
So Kimi Antonelli is 122 points, and Lewis is 148, so 26
That's
points.
26 points in 3 races. Okay. Next race is in...
Las Vegas, which should be very good for Mercedes.
And if Kimi somehow ends up winning that race, that's... okay.
But I mean, if Hamilton qualifies better, it'll be fine.
Yeah, this is not looking good. I think Lewis needs to get his act together in the last 3 races. It's not only about the whole keeping his place. It's also about if he needs to start strutting his stuff, have him having more of a say within the team. I think it's important for him and for Ferrari as well. But it will only come if the performances are there. I think
I was trying to figure out why. Sorry, just randomly
Yeah.
off the top of my head. I was trying to figure out why I thought that there was a huge gap between Norris and Max last year in Las Vegas, but they were actually like 4th and 5th, I think, or 5th and 6th.
Yeah,
But then
Max
I
was
realized
ahead.
why. Yeah, but Max was 30 seconds ahead. That's why I was like, there was definitely a big gap, right? But yeah.
That's why Lando is pretty downbeat about this race, right? I think he was questioned that you should be feeling confident about Las Vegas, and he said, "Do you remember what happened last season?"
Yeah. So, if they finish 5th and 6th with Oscar in 7th, that's a victory for Lando, basically.
Yeah, but
like that's.
Max might end up winning this one, right?
But
It's
my
be
point is,
between-
if they get the
Yeah.
same results as last year, Lando
Yeah.
can walk away being like, yeah, I lost 2 points and I gained.
I think
points
it all
over Oscar.
depends. I think the thing is you have to be very careful when it comes to a race here, because these midfield teams, if you fuck up even a little bit, they just jump into the gap that's there, because there's not
Yeah.
much of a gap anymore. And then you have drivers like Bortoleto and Behrman who are just exceptional, and somehow they'll just drag something out of these cars and put them in places where they shouldn't be. Really, I think again it's Vegas is going to be the monkey track, right, where everything could fall apart if you're not careful. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
If-
McLaren could be the fourth fastest car here, because it was last season. So
Can Lando theoretically win the championship here? I think he. No, he can't.
no.
He can theoretically remove Max from the championship.
If the gap
If
is
he-
58 points.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
If it's 59, it'd have to be 1 point higher, right? 50.
Yeah, 59.
So, yeah, if he gains 10 points on
points.
Max, he's Max is out. But I don't think he can. No, because he'd need to be 58 ahead of
Oscar.
So there's
Oscar.
no way. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah. Let's fucking hope that doesn't happen either.
That would be insane.
Yeah. I mean,
That would
after
be
building it
awful.
up. Yeah, after building it up so much. Especially because next season,
It
who
could-
the fuck knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, it could theoretically, annoyingly, it could end in Qatar, though. Theoretically speaking.
Depends.
Well, I mean,
I-
if Lando just keeps if he gains 1 point over Oscar in those 2 races, then it's
Yeah.
if he doesn't
Yeah.
lose points to Max and he gains 2 points on Oscar between the 2 races, he wins the championship in Qatar. So annoyingly, I thought this was going to go to the wire, but there is a good chance
It might not.
that it could end in Qatar, basically.
I think
which
it
is
depends, because if the McLaren is fourth fastest in Vegas,
That's
Then in that
Vegas for
case-
me is the big call.
yeah, because in that case, if Max wins, Lando is seventh, then that's a 18 point swing, something like that.
Yeah.
18 point swing means he's around he's 49. He will be 31 points in 2 races. I think what Max would be trying to do is somehow drag the whole thing into the last race and then see where the chips fall.
Yeah.
Latifi might crash on the last lap or something, right?
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
always
But
something
I
that can happen.
was just thinking though, that hadn't crossed my mind that annoyingly after this race weekend, we've gotten very close to a point where it could all end in Qatar, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Like I would have preferred it.
Going into
It
the
probably
last
still
race,
will,
yeah.
but I would have preferred that it's like a slam dunk. We're having a last lap finale, but
Yeah. Who
there
would
is
have
now
thought-
a decent chance.
Yeah, who would have thought Lando would be annoyingly consistent? No one would have predicted.
Who would have thought
right?
that there is a good chance that Lando could win before the end?
Jesus Christ. Yeah. After there are so many moments, right? After the race in Jeddah, a lot of people thought that it's done. Then you had Canada. Then you had Zandvoort. Wow. Yeah. Anyways,
Speaking, let's get to questions.
Yep. Let's get to the. I think there aren't any on Twitter. Probably
Oh, really?
we
Let
didn't
me
really
check.
catch any traction. So yeah, there are quite a few on YouTube.
There's I'll tell you now. There's 2 on Twitter, I think. So
There
I'll
are
just
2 on
run through
Twitter.
these real quick.
Yeah, go through the Twitter ones. Yeah, the notifications, I probably missed them. Yep.
Yeah, Reco Passat says, with the amount of overtakes, this was a top 3 GP this season. Do you agree? And what is both of your best 3 races this season? I think there was a lot of overtakes, but actually, if it wasn't for Max, there wouldn't have been that many. So
No, they
but
were.
yeah,
they
I still think it was a top 3 GP.
were. By the way, you know why there were a lot of overtakes? Tire degradation, multiple stops.
Yeah, DRS
So
rate.
simple,
Yeah, too easy to overtake. Top 3 this season, yes, I think so. I think the Australia opener was surprisingly good this season.
Yeah. Silverstone,
Silverstone was interesting as well. I'm trying to
Hulkenberg,
think what else.
primarily.
Oh, Hulkenberg podium, yeah, of course. That's
Yeah.
got to be up there. Zandvoort was surprisingly good. This season's actually been pretty
Ajay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
hard to
also,
call it top
I think Baku was fine, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
What happened
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Baku?
Baku
Who
was
won?
good. Max.
Yeah, he was just dominant, right? He just went
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Spa wasn't that good. Hungary was
No.
good.
Yeah.
Austria.
Oh, of course.
Lando
Austria,
versus
yeah.
Oscar for I think
Yeah,
2025 last week. They just
Yeah, that was amazing.
went back and forth.
Yeah.
Wow, there are quite a few. Nice.
So
Canada.
here we go. Canada as well. Yeah, was interesting, especially from Lando's point of view. So Iseo asks, does Oscar have what it takes to take this to the last race, or will he lose it in Qatar? Funny that we just
Yeah.
discussed that.
Yeah.
I think he'll go to the last race. I don't see the problem that Oscar has is that like it's 2 points, so like it's only 2 points that Lando needs to gain on him over the next 2 races. So if Lando like wins Las Vegas, or sorry, if Lando just stays ahead in Las Vegas and then wins in Qatar or comes second in Qatar, that's it for Oscar. And also like Lando just needs to gain on Max now over the 2 races. So
I think it's entirely down to now. In that's my take. I think Oscar is out of contention. I think the momentum is just not there. Something has gone wrong. Ideally, I'd say he's just being slow. That's one thing. After that, he's just trying to compensate in other areas where you just are unable to do that.
Yeah.
That's the main problem for him.
I still can't get over how much this has swung. Like only a few races ago, it was like Lando's done. He's out of this. Like he's not coming back from this. And
6 races back, by the way.
Yeah.
And there are three races
and
left.
2 races ago, it was like, oh, Max is probably the favorite here. And now it's like, I wonder will Lando win by Qatar? Like, to be fair, you know what? I don't care who you hate. This has been an interesting season.
Yeah.
Like 2023 was interesting for different reasons, but this is more exciting. Like this is definitely
100%.
more exciting.
100%. You mean 2024, by the way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean 2023. I mean, like the dominance of Max was exciting in one way. It was
To a
interesting
certain
to see.
extent, yeah.
It was an interesting kind of, this is amazing to see a team just utterly dominate. But you definitely want a season like this over that, you know?
100%.
There's a second question here was, can you explain why Max would reject Aston's offer because of Stroll, and was it really a huge amount of dollars? Also, why would he join Aston if Adrian is leaving in 3 or 4 years or so? Just a short stop. So for the last part, Adrian's not leaving in 3 or 4 years. I think he's probably saying that because of the age, but like, I don't think Adrian's leaving any F1 team now until he dies, basically, because Adrian has essentially been talking to Ecclestone and Eddie Jordan, who basically said to him, just keep working until you die because your brain will keep you alive longer, basically. So I don't think he's leaving. And as for the first part, I think it's not just the money. I think it's like Max knows, or at least Jos knows, even though Max would technically be number 1 at Aston, he'll never be like, you're getting preferential treatment on everything as long as Stroll is there.
Stroll won't be a Sonoda.
Yeah.
Keep it short and simple.
Yeah. They'll be getting
Should we talk about the
best.
nonsensical way in which Red Bull is managing Sonoda?
No, we don't have time.
Yeah. I mean, we could be worse, right? we could be treating Yuki like Red Bull does. Yeah. Anyways, I think the one more thing, the money thing. Yes, it was true. $1 billion in 5 years. That was the contract.
$250 a year, something crazy like that.
200 a year for 5 years.
It's insane.
So
insane
that is
amount of money.
Fucking oil money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the team valuations now are ridiculous. So
Aston is worth what, 2.4 billion?
Yeah. As someone said in was it The Big Short years ago or something, the one of my favorite lines, I can't remember what movie it's from or what TV show it's from. The guy says, look, money's cheap right now. The other guy's like, what the fuck does that even mean? But yeah,
that's
anyway.
not from Big Short, yeah.
No, it's from something else, but I can't remember what it is. It's like money's cheap. It might be from Entourage. It's like money's cheap right now.
Could be.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got a few questions here.
Yeah. Okay. Should I start?
Go for it.
Okay. So Red Robin 1122. Oscar for once sounded genuinely deflated after a bad result in interviews. When are we able to say he's thrown this championship away? when he ultimately loses it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
he did sound like ridiculously under pressure. And this is a couple of times now where he's been on the radio kind of like, you know, I know that's after the
It
race
all
he's
began
pointing
in
out, but
Baku,
even
by
on the
the way,
radio.
if you remember.
Yeah. It's just this kind of like over the radio, like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah.
You know? And it's kind of a...
Let's see. Yeah.
I don't think he's thrown the championship away. I just think,
I think
like...
he's trying his hardest, but the problem
I think he's
is
probably trying too much now.
he has to. I think what happened in sprint was unfortunate. The whole crash, because the water just splashed on the curb and everything. But yeah, it happens. You never know what's going to happen in the future, honestly.
And a related question there, Flaky, by the way, says, is it Jover for Piastri?
More or less, yes, in terms of momentum, but I'm not going to make any predictions after the way the season has been going.
Yeah.
So, Luke Wilson. I used to be like those Piastri fans who were holding Norris to a standard where he never could win. I now actually want Norris to win the title. Why do you guys think people dislike Lando so much? And what does winning a title do to his legacy?
I think people dislike him because there was a couple of times where he said some shit about Max, basically. But I think the actual reason, and he like made some comments about Hamilton as well at one point. I think like if I had that car, I'd be winning, that kind of thing. But I think those are kind of things that come out afterwards, because people actually didn't mind Lando up until 2024 when Lando had a title fighting car. Basically, all of the Max fans that hate Lando now, for example, were really complimentary of Lando in like 21, 22, 23 when Lando was getting podiums. Yeah.
Last season.
I think Lewis fans were a little bit before that, because there was points where Lando was troubling Lewis, like, you know, a couple of times.
Lando openly chose Max as the better driver than Lewis in 2021. He was quite blunt about it, and fans can be sensitive. So,
but yeah, as for Max, it wasn't until he started beating Max basically last year in races.
It's a very simple thing when it comes to Lando, and I think it comes to a lot of drivers. Lando was not the driver that they thought is going to win the championship or be in contention. Once he's there, they are not able to. You aren't able to accept it, and and I think even today there was this post by the RBR Daily X account where he said that only one driver deserves to win the championship, and he had the Max Verstappen poster. And my reply was quite simple: look, this is motorsport, and the driver that has the most points wins the championship. He's the one that deserves it, and it's a common thing. I've seen the same nonsense
like,
when Lewis
like in
was
America
winning.
when people say "not my president," and you're like, "Yeah, but like he literally is, though. Like, you don't want him there, but he is your president.
He is.
Like, you can, you know, like."
Cool. Okay, so what does it mean for his legacy?
Well, it's huge, because like all of this bullshit of you know, he doesn't deserve the title or whatever, like none of it matters for shit in reality. As soon as he has the number one on his car and he wins the title, he is the champion, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of times throughout my lifetime of watching Formula One where there's been champions where I'm like, you know, Jensen, I mean, he's a great guy, great driver. I don't think he's the best driver on the grid. You know, so there's been plenty of drivers who've won a title that perhaps are just there because circumstance worked out, whatever.
Hill.
Like, you know, yeah, exactly. Like throughout the years. So it means fuck all afterwards, though. As soon as you win that title, the thing for Lando is he will start getting his choice of seats. He'll be around basically as long as he wants.
His profile becomes bigger now. Yeah. And most importantly, I think for him, I think more than for Oscar, for Lando, winning the championship this season is more important. Because if he doesn't do it this year, I would be surprised if he does it next season.
Yes, and I think Oscar has that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think Oscar has that innate belief in himself that I think he'll look back and be like, right, this is where we went wrong. This is what I'm going to fix for next year. I think Lando not winning now where things are will be a bigger blow mentally, and I don't think he'll come back from that. Whereas I think I constantly said I saw a different Max Verstappen in 2022. Right, to 2021. In 2021, he was an epic driver. He was brilliant, but he was still getting angry, still letting things get to him, all those things. 2022, it was like a whatever. Let's have some fun. I'm a fucking champion now. Yeah. And I think we'll see a different Lando next year if he wins. One that potentially could be very hard for even Oscar to beat them, because Lando is incredibly quick And if Lando has that complete, like, yeah, I don't give a shit and I know I'm the best confidence, that's going to be a tough driver for a lot of drivers to be all of a sudden.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Because he's very quick, you know. So
Happened with Vettel, right? 2010, he just scraped through at the end.
never led
2011
until he won. Yeah.
Yeah. And
then look at
2011
what he
just
became,
just I think what he still has the record for most pole positions, and there were 18 races that season. We've had 24 race seasons and no one has come close to it.
He's an incredible driver, yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Next up, Ahmed Fabli, masterclass performance from the top three. Lando being untouchable, Kimi beat George in both sprint and full race and defended against Max like a lion. Max went from pit lane to P3. Do you guys think Max could win or podium if the hard tire didn't get punctured? Or was the puncture a blessing in disguise? I'd say he would have won because Max lost around 10 to 12 seconds in the pits.
I think he lost some positions in some seconds, but I actually think, I don't know. I think it may have been a blessing in disguise as well. I think that tire was a really bad tire, and I think he would have got caught in the melee and then been stuck on like a weird strategy then from there on out, because he would have had to go long. So I'm not sure.
Not necessarily, right? Because you saw what, I think it was Ocon who did that. He pitted a couple of laps after Max did, and he was on hard tires. From there, he just ran on the medium, and then in the end, I think it was the soft tire.
Okay.
And, yeah. Plus, Max lost around 10 or so seconds due to the extra pit stop, plus a few seconds when he overtook a lot more cars. So once you add all of that, it's basically more than whatever he would have gained with the tire. So, I mean, that was the theory that I had. So, yeah, I think he would have won. Probably would have won, even despite starting from the pit lane, which is astounding to think. Okay, should Max have stayed out on the medium to defend the lead instead of the final? What do you think?
I thought this when I was watching the race. I was like, why did they not gamble? I think it would have been a bad call. The problem is we don't really know, right? Because it looked like that the tires had like a really bad drop off, but constantly with Pirelli, when you're on low fuel, they don't actually end up having that drop off at the end that everyone expected. You know what is interesting there? I think that's a risk that Horner's Red Bull probably would have told Max to take.
That's true, right?
I think they probably would have said, right, if we come in now, you're sealed on for a podium. Yeah. Do you want to stay out and we have the risk of ending up P4 and P5, or we win? Or do you want to come in and lock in a podium? I think Horner and Max in that situation, like that duo, would have said, fuck a podium, I want the win. And they would have just seen what happened.
Yeah.
And I am a little bit shocked that they didn't just gamble for it, given that a podium isn't good enough to fight for a title.
Yeah,
you need to
I
win
agree.
today.
I agree.
So I don't know.
And the biggest thing, Hülkenberg did 35 laps on the soft tire. Lawson did 40 plus lap on the medium tires, and they held on to their positions in the end. So if they can do that, then Max could have been able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance he could have been overtaken. We would have never known. But yes, I do think like
worst case scenarios, he finishes P4, and best case scenario, he finishes P.
I think Horner's Red Bull would have said, let's stay out and try. Like, it's win all or nothing.
Yeah,
that's the way that team was, and now it seems more of a let's take the logical step. Which, when you don't have the fastest car every weekend, you can't. You need to gamble. So I don't know. I noticed his next one there, which I guess we've talked on, which is if Lando wins all the remaining races, it'll be 2018 again, where points don't tell the full story. Yeah.
To a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah.
Vache needs to guillotine whoever the guy.
Well, this is the thing. It wasn't the guy running the wind tunnel simulation. It was based on some feedback that they had from...
driver feedback. Now they don't look at simulations, right?
Yeah. So, essentially, like I said earlier, this would have never happened under Horner because they wouldn't have listened to Yuki. Yeah.
Yeah. Feel bad for Gabby. Yeah. He had a 56G or 57G collision. That was something. But yeah.
Yeah.
Dane, question for Jason. Okay. So when Matt and Tommy did their qualifying review, there is someone legit asked them about Max should drive the racing bull in the last 3 years, and yet Tommy and Max agree with it. What are your thoughts on it?
Sure, he can if he wants to finish off the podium for the last 3 races.
Yeah. Thank
Like,
you.
The thing is, it's like the Racing Bulls is easier to drive, but it's fundamentally slower. And I just for anyone who actually thinks this is the case, like, I don't know if Matt and Tommy know that or whether
They
they're
are the
joking or
P1
not.
pod, right?
Yeah. Sometimes they say things where I'm like, is this a joke or do you guys actually believe this? Because sometimes they are like, he should just get in the Racing Bulls, and then they kind of laugh, and I'm like, I'm not sure if you're joking or not. Like, you know, because there's been a few times where those guys have said stuff that I'm like, you do understand, like, that's not how this works, right?
Yeah.
If, just to put this out there, like, if Red Bull have easy access to the data from both, right? They're not allowed to share data for
But Marco
development.
admits this, right? Even Yuki
Yeah,
said
like
that.
they're not allowed to share the development data between the two, but they are allowed to share, like, oh, our car is this fast, your car is this fast. They can do that. They can share that, right? And Max has a contract with Red Bull. If at any point Jos thought or Max thought that the Racing Bull was actually the faster car to be in, he could easily in 2 seconds just swap teams at the start of the season and fight for the title. So they know it's not the fastest car. Like, there's no, like, if it is the fastest car, then basically Jos should immediately be fired and, like, Max should be adopted by someone else because it's really bad management. But, like, they know that. And Horner, Marco, Jos, Max, they have all said the same thing when they've been asked about the Racing Bull car, which is the same thing I keep saying.
Yeah.
It is easier to drive, but it is fundamentally slower. It's
Yeah, pretty much.
because it's easier to drive, you can have some stellar performances in qualifying because it's easier to just get to the limit. But in race pace, it is fundamentally slower. So if he wants to switch to the Racing Bulls for the last 3 races, he can. But essentially, you're just giving Lando the title by doing that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not even fighting for it. So
Pretty
go
much.
for it. There's a second question here. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything into that?
No, that's fine. I'm not going to shit on... I shit on too many people. So
Okay.
I'm going to take
this
it
is
back from this one.
this is for Jason. I'll shit on it anyway. It's fine. Did you legitimately think Max can win at Las Vegas because Mercedes does well in cooler conditions? Mercedes think they do well in cooler conditions, but then they do well in hot conditions, and they're like, we don't know how we got here. So I don't think Mercedes think they do well anywhere. They just show up and hope for the best. And this will be advantage Mercedes, and the Mercedes driver lineup is a bit better. Basically, do I legitimately think Max can win in Las Vegas? I think he can, and I actually think they'll be very, very good there based on the characteristics of this car. However, yes, it is correct to say that, like, Mercedes could be very, very good around this track. However, Mercedes also shouldn't be good at certain tracks they were good at this year.
Yeah.
So I like Mercedes, have no idea where the Mercedes will be. I assume it will go well around Las Vegas. But there is no reason that we don't get to Las Vegas and it's max 30 miles up the road with the 2 McLarens second and third. Like, we have no idea. But yeah, Mercedes is better in cooler conditions except for when it isn't, and it's been very good in hot conditions this year as well. Which was the track this year where it was hot and they were like...
Bahrain.
Yeah. Was it Bahrain? They literally just like, yeah, we don't know. Like, it's strange. Canada, yeah. Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And this is for... I'll ask you if you want. He has a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
This is for casual. Given you know how brutal Kieran Smith is, and also Kieran Smith community in YouTube, do you think you somehow agree with him and his community of people on YouTube that both Norris and Piastri don't deserve the title this year, which I think Kieran Smith and his community of people in YouTube will say? And you commented on this earlier, right? But
yeah,
anyway.
as I said earlier, the driver that scores the most points deserves the championship. It's as simple as that. And look, Kyron and every other guy, they can have their own opinion. I have zero issues with any community. My only issue comes in when they start being toxic and they start running the hate campaigns and start monetizing that. Once you start doing that, then I have an issue. Otherwise, just knock yourself out, no problem.
Yeah, it's Kieran, by the way, in case you're wondering.
It's Kyron.
Kieran.
No, it's Kyron. I've known the guy. He's Peter's
It's an
friend.
Irish name.
He's Iranian.
That's an Irish name, Kieran Smith.
It is, but he's Iranian from his mother's side.
But Kieran is an Irish. That's not a. So he
calls
pronouncing
himself
an Irish
Kyron.
name.
I don't know.
Why?
But
I'm pretty sure that's like specifically an Irish name.
Yeah,
So he's
we
pronouncing.
might bring.
I'm
going
going
to
go on there and tell him. Listen, just first of all, you're pronouncing your name wrong. Yeah, like, hold on. Kieran with an O, the way he spells it, is just an alternative spelling of the word Kieran, which is an Irish, Scottish Gaelic name.
Okay.
Yeah, it's derived from the Gaelic word Kier, which means black. So it actually means the little dark one, or the dark-haired one.
Okay.
So it's Irish and it's Kieran, and he's wrong, and I don't care. And so that'll be interesting if we ever have him on the podcast. And I'm like, can we just start by saying you're pronouncing your name wrong?
Yeah.
I know it's your
Let's
name.
start with that.
But you're pronouncing it wrong.
I will tell you how you pronounce your name. I
I'll
don't
be like,
care
yeah,
how
you can
do
pronounce
it,
it
and you've
however
done
you
for
want.
whatever long.
Yeah, it's like you can pronounce your name however you want, but just
Yeah.
know you're wrong. Like, you're pronouncing it wrong.
That would be a fun conversation.
That's so funny. Kieran Smith, and it's an Iranian guy. That's such an Irish name.
From his mother's side, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be like if I showed up and I was called... No, this is going to be racist. We're not going down there.
Yeah, don't go there. CPB
there's-
1998, right? We all agree that Kimi has shown a lot of improvement with his consistency lately with the current wave of momentum. I feel that he has a real shot of winning in Vegas. Also, I see George winning Qatar, considering the track will suit Mercedes as well. No one knows what suits Mercedes, my friend.
Every track suits Mercedes until it doesn't.
Yeah. I'm
It's just,
starting
yeah.
to think that Kimi could snatch 6th in the standings from Lewis. It's possible.
It's
26
possible,
points,
but I
three
think
races.
it's too much.
Yeah, 26 points, 3 races.
When
If-
you're not... Like, that would be fine if he was in a car that's going to win. Like, if Mercedes win Las Vegas and Qatar, then sure, yeah. But if
he
they're
wins,
in the midfield...
if he
it's
wins
not.
in, if Kimi is even second in Vegas, he'll get 18 points. And if Lewis is 6th, 7th, 8th or something,
Yeah,
that's
that's
still a
true,
jump,
actually.
right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
True. Okay, next is from Groganson. Hey guys,
Jesus.
sorry in advance. Why? A few more questions since today. Okay. Yeah.
I have to leave in like less than 10 minutes, I think. So here's what we're going to do.
This is the
No,
last
here's what we're
one,
going to
right?
do.
Yeah,
This is the last question, and there's like 7 of them here. So we're going to do
Jesus
quick fire
Christ.
answers, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm just
go
going to
for it.
read these out, and we're going to just blast through them.
Go for
Because
it.
He's
Quickly,
gone to
yeah.
a lot of time to write this,
Yeah.
so I also don't want to not answer either.
Mm-hmm.
1. On the Oscar incident, do the stewards in that case think Oscar lost control so he gets the penalty, or is there actual room for discussion? And in a broader sense, are the rules scope prescriptive because we don't have permanent stewards as a way to, in theory, provide consistency, which is obviously a flawed approach. Obviously, we covered this
went
earlier.
through
I'll
it,
give you
right.
my quick take on it, but the stewards don't think in that condition because, as you said in the second points, the rules are so prescriptive. I don't think permanent stewards would actually fix this specific issue because these are rules and guidelines given to them by the drivers and teams. So I think if you had permanent stewards in, they would need to basically fight back and say, look guys, we don't need these rules. We have
Do you
permanent
think
stewards.
permanent
we can
stewards
figure
is a
this
good
out."
thing?
I think it's a good idea, but the problem is like
If one of
that
them
has
is
its
Johnny
own
Herbert,
flaws as
then?
well. Yeah, great. That'd be brilliant.
For
I
us.
love Johnny Herbert. Yeah.
Moving
No.
on. Did
yeah.
the safety car compromise Aston's strategy? Or was the strategy just bad? The car didn't seem too bad in the sprint. The car was bad. The car was made to
Yeah, the
look
car
better
wasn't great.
by Alonso. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it probably did compromise their strategy because
Hard.
going out on the hard, the only way to make that work is just go for so long. And when you get a safety car, everyone gets fresh tires and it kind of offsets the difference. So
True.
yes, I think it does, but I also think the car wasn't that good. So I don't think it really made a huge difference to where they were going to end up. Number 3, since
Since
go
the second
ahead.
tire manufacturer sadly is unlikely to get into F1 anytime soon, you often talk about the different tire compounds that are chosen for races and that you would love the teams to have more choices. While I agree with the sentiment, wouldn't reintroducing refueling be another obvious fix? No. So let me explain why it won't be an obvious fix. The reason is I've seen refueling have next to no impact in IndyCar in terms of action and everything. It comes down to the tires. There's some difference in terms of this is the amount of fuel you can have or something, but the fuel strategy tends to converge. It tends to converge because almost everyone has the optimal setup in place, so it doesn't really make much of a difference.
The problem with fuel strategy is like even more so now than when it was back then, is that back then, you know, it didn't make a huge difference because they kind of roughly knew like what the best fuel strategies were. So you could have some gambles and so on, which are fine. But I think even more so now with all of the advanced computing power they have, everyone's going to end up on the same fueling strategy. They're all going to know. And the only change that could make it exciting is you may have like, you know, one or two guys at the back who have nothing to lose, gamble on really low fuel and hope for a safety car. But then they're basically just going to be forced to come in if there's no safety car. So I don't think it'd be much more exciting. I think what will be much more exciting is having a bigger range in tyres or a bigger step in tyres, like we had this weekend, where you kind of make... I think if they had gone further this weekend and had like C6, C3, C5, or C2, C5, something like that, then you have a situation where there's such a range in tyres that there is just a range in strategies, or just give them every single tyre, whatever it is. But I think something with the tyres is a better option, personally.
Also, there's one major issue here. From next year onwards, we'll have just 50 kg of fuel. So what the fuck are we doing anyways? The refueling thing is not even on the table.
It's kind of pointless now. Here's another one. For any recommendations for other F1 podcasts on YouTube with people who give valuable insights, actually know what they're talking about, and aren't just content creators with short-term memory talking out of their asses, because those are just rage bait at this point. You guys are excluded from that, of course. I just need more of that quality. I will say, I think the race are actually pretty decent for the most part, especially the tech one that has Ed. What's his Ed? I can't remember his surname.
Anderson, Gary Anderson.
It's Gary Anderson and Ed
Anderson. Ben Anderson.
Ed. What's his name?
Ed Straw.
He's constantly on it as well, right? He's the main one on it. There's another one I love, which is Lakeside Drive. I don't know whether you'd like it or not, and it's not so much rage bait, but I've talked to one of the guys before, but like they're Australian, so there's not rage bait, but they do like to take the piss and have fun. So if you're into that sort of thing, you'll love that. But they are really knowledgeable, and they tend to be pretty on point. And they kind of have one guy who's very knowledgeable and calm, and then another guy who likes to wind people up. So you get this good balance of like, it's not too dry with some real figures. That's one I like.
I think the race is the one that I tend to go to. Other than that, if you're going for history, it's usually Bring Back Wheatons. That's a good one. Yeah. Then
I used to like Autosport, but when John Noble left,
it used to be good when John Noble was there. Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, John Noble's with the race now, so it's just kind of compounded that for me.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Who are these random?
If I think
people?
of more, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Who are these people? Who are these random people in the Red Bull garage? I have no fucking clue. Maybe Max's in-laws or something. Who knows?
They're the people who are making sure Tsunoda's car doesn't work.
Yeah. With the podium
is Lewis the new Hulkenberg?
Don't you dare insult Hulkenberg here. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. If only Max had qualified better. Fantastic. Oh my god.
Perfect.
I mean, like this is one of those cases where if Max had qualified better, he would have been winning the race, but sure.
Pretty much.
There you are.
Cool. Done.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. It should be up whenever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be up tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know when we're recording, right?
That makes no sense exactly until people are recording, but it'll be out soon. If you're listening to this, you don't care when it's out.
Precisely. Drop a comment. Let us know how the pod was. If you agree or disagree, there will be a few that don't like our Lewis commentary or Verstappen commentary or whatever. Let us know in the comments, and probably I'll reply. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.
I won't. Bye.
Yeah.